Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I do appreciate my friend from Ohio pointing out the problems that arise with trade deficit. That has been a problem. When I first came here and was sworn in on this House floor back January of '05, what I began to hear from the other side of the aisle correctly was that the Republicans control the White House, they control the House and control the Senate, and they're spending too much money. They're engaged in deficit spending, and it has to stop, and they were right. So my first 2 years here, we had, on some bills, the White House asking for way too much money, and to try to be a party that went along with the president. Many of my colleagues would say, we've got to do this, you know, we're in charge. And money got spent when it shouldn't have been spent. And we should have been better about not having deficit spending. But we blew it. And the American voters called us on it properly. I say us. I was often not happy and on the contrary, and some in my party called me a troublemaker and still do. But we call them the way we see them. And the fact is, deficit spending was wrong when it was being done by a Republican White House and Congress, or requesting from the Congress, and Republican Congress was doing it, because it is the Congress that does the appropriations. And it's wrong today. And so in November of 2006, when the Democrats were put in the majority in both the House and the Senate, I was hoping we would see the end of deficit spending, just as they promised. But that's not what happened. The deficit spending has gotten increasingly higher. And now, in the first few weeks of this new term, it's hit an all-time high. You can't spend your way to prosperity. It doesn't work when you're spending your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren's money. And you have to know someday, when we're dead and gone, they're going to be cussing our names. Why did you run us up into such debt so we couldn't live like you did? Because you wouldn't control your spending. That's our obligation, and we owe so much better to the children and the generations to come. There was a Rasmussen poll today, came out, and it says 45% of the American public are in favor of a tax cut only stimulus bill. Stop the runaway spending on things that aren't stimulus. Why would Congress do that? Why did Congress do it, and why is it increasing in such a dramatic scale? Well, there is an atmosphere of arrogance that is growing all the time in Washington, that the people out there who are stimulating the economy, they're working, they're doing all they can. Well, there's some in Washington who think they're just too stupid to spend the money so that it stimulates the economy. So we must have people in Washington who know so much more and are so much better at spending other people's money. Let the people in Washington spend the hard-working folks' money. You know, in the last couple of weeks, we had $350 billion, the second half of that bailout that was such a mistake back in September. That other half has been allocated and approved. And then you add the 820 or 819 billion plus whatever the Senate's going to add. You put those together, it's around 1.2 trillion. Why is that a significant number? Because 1.2 trillion happens to be the amount, basically, that every individual income taxpayer in America will pay for 2008 income tax. You want to see the economy stimulated, you give back every dime that every individual taxpayer paid in 2008, you will see the economy stimulated. I'm not even advocating that. I'm just saying give people back their money in their next two paychecks, the next 2 months' paychecks. A 2-month tax holiday, it's a 16 2/3% tax cut for this year. A study by Moody's Economy says that will increase the GDP more in 1 year than any other tax proposal out there. It would be a 2-month tax holiday. And for those who don't make enough to pay income tax, you get to keep your FICA. So everyone, just like President Obama promised, will get an income tax holiday. You'll get your money back. But I was told last week when President Obama, and man, you can't be in a room with that guy and not really like him. He's a likable, smart, congenial man. And when I was telling him about the tax holiday idea, it's not 3 months, 6 months next year. It's in your next paycheck. He said, whoa. He wanted the idea talked about, and now Larry